Hey everybody, welcome to the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room for a special Thursday night live stream. Glad to have you guys doing a double header after last night's head-to-head matchup with Michael Klein, which was a ton of fun. I want to thank everyone for coming in. The reason why I went live tonight, I have a really special guest. I have Aaron Chepenik from Nevada H&C Distilling. He is also one of the partners and proud creators of Smoke Wagon Bourbon, which I recently just reviewed. And also, it's a bourbon that's been gaining some popularity really quickly just by the quality of juice that they're putting out, and also the level of also what they're doing on social media too, which has been awesome. So everyone sit back. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask him some questions. We'll go through some of the stuff about how they got started, what's his blending process like. And then I'll leave some time at the end for you guys to get some questions in for him. So without further ado, here is Aaron Chepenik. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome in. What's going on, man? How's Vegas treating you?
I'm totally jealous of your backdrop over there. Shut up.
Trying to take it all in.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I just have my messy desk over here.
Yeah, but you're in the distillery around all the great bourbon that you make.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've been pretty fortunate to actually, be able to still come here every day and have something to do. It's been cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So first, why don't you kind of tell everyone a little bit about you?
Sure. So I'm one of the co-founders of. There's just two of us. Still, Jonathan and I. We don't have any investors or anything. We started Nevada H&C Distilling. Man, it's been like 10 years now for the purpose of. Originally, it was just going to be vodka. Silver Dollar vodka, and then we decided to do bourbon right around 2011, and in 2012 we went out to MGP for the first time, and that was like maybe 8 months after they had purchased the Seagram's facility.
Yeah,
and that was a total eye opener for me, because you're told how I was told how everything was done, and it's just you go there and you see that place. I mean, now everybody gets to see it, but it was kind of hidden for a while there. And you just see those, like the first thing you see is all those masonry rack houses and how grand it is on the Ohio River. And I was like, man, we got like a 3,900 square foot facility. How do you even scale to this, And then you go in the control room, right? Because you're like, oh, let's meet the master distiller. Like, oh, where is he? Is he sniffing little glasses or no? He's in a control room, looking at computer screens, they're giving you the chemical composition of the distillate. And I'm like, everything I've been told is a lie, and, but it's really cool. But mainly, they told us about the aging facility and how when Seagram's built that in the 30s, they chose that location, it's just across the Ohio River from Kentucky. And they chose that location because that's the way the wind blows. So they get all the moisture every morning, and it floods all the rack houses because they're right on the banks there.
Wow.
And it has these sub-basements. So the dirt's always wet in the rack houses because they're on this giant aquifer. And how that massive humidity level really helps with volume loss. And they'll actually lose alcohol before they lose water. And I was like, well, hey, that's the complete opposite environment of what I'm working with in Las Vegas, where we have single-digit humidity levels. And so I went. There was one guy who unfortunately passed, George, at Las Vegas Distillery, and he was doing everything from scratch. And he said he got like a 48% volume loss the first year.
Wow.
And so that didn't really get me to make any decisions in the moment. It just made me feel better as time went on. So we bought everything MGP would sell us, all the 36% rye bourbon they had in stock. So that stuff that they had laid down in the past 8 months, there was no inventory from LDI, which owned it before them. They didn't have the money. And then the 12-year stuff that I'm dealing with now, which will be 13 years in May, that was all laid down by Pernod Ricard. And then it just things just took so long, and we hadn't got a year went by, and we just started contracting them to lay down distillate for us, and we get to choose the floor and everything. And sometimes I would get to choose the warehouse only if like there was times where I would say I wanted 600 barrels, and he was like, well, hey, we just laid 600 barrels down last month. You want to just do those? They're in this warehouse. And I'd say yes, but I would always be able to dictate the floor, just not always the warehouse.
Yeah, that was going to be that was going to be my next question, because when you go and you, like you said, you see the scale of MGP,
right?
You see the control room and them pretty much having a specific. They know where each barrel is, a time, a place, where it was laid down, when it was laid down. Like, where do you even start? Is it just by age? Like you say, I want to start with a 4-year, maybe some 6-year, and then they kind of guide you in that general direction?
So in the beginning, all there was 5-year and stuff that was like a month old, and stuff that was whatever 7 months old that they did as soon as they took over the place. So there really wasn't a lot of options, and I didn't really know about floors until later on. And even now, warehouses, when I first started and we were blending the 4th floor stuff out of warehouse C, I didn't really appreciate warehouse C until right now, like the past 5 months. Because even at 6 years old, you couldn't really tell a difference. But now that we're pulling all this 8-year out of there, the volume is insane compared to warehouse G. The flavor profile is completely different, and it's like in the center of the warehouse. Center of the facility. So, it's doesn't get a lot of sun, but but floors. I always kind of understood the floors right away, because we would get stuff off a higher floor, and I was like, oh, hey, this is tastes older, and so that was how I made the decision. Now it's 5 years ago, man. 5 years ago, to put all those barrels on the 6th floor with the goal of doing the straight bourbon, of having something at 4 years old wasn't really young, so it would age faster.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So if we go back to when you started, you guys basically had the idea. So you and Jonathan, you were sitting around and you were drinking Russian Diamond vodka.
Russian Diamond, yeah.
The official vodka of the Kremlin.
That's what it said on the bottle back then. I don't know if it still says that.
and then you said, when I was doing the research for the review, it had like that specific literally silver filtration, correct?
Yeah. So I bought a silver filtration system, Russian one from India. What I learned is that I could have just bought that they're just 30-inch canisters. I could have bought a system here. It would have been much nicer than the one I have. But the main thing was, it's 2-stage. It's supposed to be 2-stage. The first stage is regular carbon, activated carbon charcoal, and the second stage is the silver filtration, where it's activated carbon coconut husk. So it's not porous, just the juice goes around the surface of it. It doesn't actually pass through it.
Okay.
And that's coated in silver. So everything has to go around the silver. Now, in water, it'll have antiviral and antibacterial properties, but in the vodka, it's like whatever. Alcohol.
Yeah, it's pure alcohol.
and so what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to take any charge, because it's ionized, so you don't get any of the carbon into the juice off the second stage, and because it's ionized, it's supposed to attract all the carbon out of the first stage. Well, over time, I've learned that you don't really need the first stage. The only time you need, because everybody's like, oh, GNS or NGS, it's like there's I don't even know how many grades there are. I mean, we spent 2 whole days just tasting GNS to figure out how we wanted to. I know, sorry, we're getting into the vodka here. It's kind of boring for all these bourbon guys. Like, who gives a shit about vodka? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Get to the bourbon. All right.
That'll bring me, when you guys decided, okay, but so by law though, you're not allowed to make vodka in Las Vegas, correct? That's why you have to source.
Yeah. So the state will let me make vodka using neutral grain spirit.
Okay.
Because they consider it rectifying, even though you're distilling. I mean, there is especially because we have a copper still, there's definitely a reaction happening.
Yeah.
And the juice coming out is vastly different than the juice going in. So technically I could distill bourbon the same way. I could get, MGP to send me, disposable totes of White Dog. I could run it through my still with all the plates open, and You know, then I could stick it in a barrel and
Yeah,
walk
I hear
around
you.
with an eyedropper.
Yeah.
And put it in, you know, but it's like, it's just, you know, and by the way, that was the advice we got from everyone in the beginning.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to distill your own juice, and you have to figure out a way to get distilled Indiana off the back of your bottle, and you have to do this. And I wasn't feeling it, you know. I was like, I don't want to lie about it. And
well, that's one of the things I respect about what you guys are doing. You're very transparent about what you do. I love what you're doing on social. I love what you do when it comes to social media, and you're literally tasting barrels and tasting blends to see where you're going with it. Now, when you guys decided to get into bourbon, you reached out to Dave Pickerel, correct?
Correct. Yes.
The late great craft distillery master has so many. He has so much of his thumbprint on so many craft distilleries across the country.
That's all he was doing back then.
Yeah.
He had just barely started Whistle Pig. God, I can't even remember. So long ago. I think it was ADI. I think it was American Distillers Institute that recommended him. They're like,
really? Okay.
A consultant, you know.
Yeah.
Dave Pickerel is doing all this stuff.
So one other thing when I was doing the research, I just want to give a quick shout out to Bernie D. He said this is like the Wizard of Oz pulling back the curtain.
That's how I felt at MGP.
Yeah. So as you guys went forward, and one other thing I found out is, you know, you weren't feeling that advice, and I agree. I think there's times where you should, you know, maybe do that, and times that you shouldn't. But I felt like you guys got in a little bit early with MGP, so you were able to get some really good barrels, get some good stuff that was laid down.
Yeah, and for a while there, they had closed the doors on craft brands. You know, everybody had to go through Ultra Pure for years.
Yeah,
and
that brings me to the bottle, which is next, which is just a beautiful bottle design. Which
thank you.
From what I read, that you didn't want to go through any of the bullshit of hiring a designer and somebody to do this. This is all from the mind of Aaron, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And I had to engineer the bottle, you know, for the vodka, because until that bottle was done, no one has ever recessed anything onto the front of a round bottle. It's always on the shoulder. And they told another thing, they were just like, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I want to do this. So I'll figure out a way to make it work, you know. And so it just kind of worked out. I started with the circumference of the Morgan silver dollar, and then I recessed it in the glass enough so that if I put those little bumpers up, you know, where the label is, it was funny because back then they're like, you don't want it, you don't want to bump it into each other on the assembly line, the pieces of the coin, right? And I was like, assembly line, yeah, all right. Well, shit, man, we're gonna have an assembly line in like a year.
Yeah, like assembly line. I'm like, I'm gluing this shit on myself.
Pretty much. I mean, back then I was bottling everything myself. I was doing everything, you know, for like 2 years. You know,
that's awesome, man. And
it's been crazy because it's been such a long journey, and a lot of. Well, I mean, I guess we have time. There's just been so many things that, like, where we thought we were getting screwed, where we're, you know, being saved from ourselves. You know, it's like a lot of the videos they do, you see these big giant tanks behind me.
Yeah.
And those are empty. They never got approved. And if they got approved, all that 12-year bourbon would have been dumped right away when it was 5 years old. And we were going to pull off that until our stuff. And so for 3.5 years, I was like, why is this happening to me? Why is my life being destroyed? And then I was like, holy shit, it's been 3.5 years. We have 4-year bourbon. Oh, sorry, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent there, but yeah.
I like to hear the audience. We but I feel like to hear the stories behind it. It's always good. Yeah.
And that was when people were like, oh, you can release small batch was originally going to be an 8-year. Because that's what we had. The 5-year was 8-year, almost 9 years. And we thought we were going to release that summer, and nothing happened. And then we had the 4-year juice to work with. And so people were like, oh, yeah, you just step it down. And you release it as an 8-year, and then you step it down every year until you know have 5-year, and then you make it a 5-year. And I started blending the vintages together, and I was like, this is better. I like this better. This has got all that rye spice that we liked in the 5-year, but you know, the 8-year made it nice and creamy. But there are some, you know, I know a lot of people get obsessed with age, but there's some negative aspects to age. You know, big ones.
I agree. Tannins, too much dryness. I mean, there's a lot that can come with a good age. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of beautiful flavors disappear over time. Since nothing's chill filtered, the real advantage for me with that 8-year is that nice high concentration of lipid esters, all those fats, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to thicken it up and insulate your palate from the heat. And just so I was like, I can make this taste exactly how I want, you know, because they're like, you just want to put enough, you know. I can't even remember how they worded it. Basically, it was like, fuck the consumer. Everything was like, just screw the consumer. Like, you either want to have a bottle with no age statement where the stuff is palatable, or you want it old with an age statement. And I was like, no, I want to do this. And everybody said, oh, you don't want to do that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, good whiskey is good whiskey. So that brings me, I guess, to my next thing. And we'll get into the bottle design a little bit more as far as when it comes to, you know, the theme, the thematics and everything. But I feel like in tasting, you know, your smoke wagons, I feel like you could smell and you could taste that high rye, but it finishes with like not a huge burn at all. It's just all sweetness, but at the same time, it also gives you a lasting finish. So what's your blending process? What are you looking for when you're putting these together?
I don't know if I can tell you that. No, I'm just kidding.
You want to kill me afterwards?
It's pretty simple. Small batch is definitely, I'm going for a specific flavor profile, right? I mean, it's not entry level the way the new straight bourbon in the clear bottle is. I mean, it's got a lot of complexity for its price point because it's 36% rye and all that.
Yeah.
But small batch is like, I wanted no tannins, just really tons of fruit, tons of sweet flavors, but enough heat and rye spice on the finish to make it interesting. But you know, but also like if you don't really drink a lot of bourbon neat, or even for me, right? I drink that in the summertime. I much prefer that in the summertime on the rocks when it's 113 degrees outside than uncut unfiltered. I mean, everybody's palate's different. Yeah. Anybody says you got to drink bourbon a certain way or what, they're an asshole. Do whatever you want. You know, it's like alcohol, unfortunately, is not good for you. It's an indulgence. So you should be enjoying the experience, you know?
Yeah, I say the same. I say the same thing in a lot of my reviews. I say if anyone tells you there's a specific way to drink bourbon or whiskey, you know, fuck them. So
yeah, and so small batch, it opens up and it's beautiful. But it has like enough of that young juice so it stays hot, a little bit hot, and has all that rye spice. Uncut unfiltered on the other end of the spectrum, uncut unfiltered neat for me. For me, if I put uncut unfiltered on the rocks, it just, once the heat's gone, it's just too sweet and one-dimensional. It loses, you know, and because I'm blending it to finish really nice.
Yeah.
At that higher proof. And small batch, I'm blending to finish just a little hot at 100 proof, you know?
Yeah, so a finish to me is my favorite part of the bourbon or the whiskey. So in a finish, are you looking for that good citrus spice, something that's a little bit more lasting? What are you looking for in a finish? Yeah,
especially with the uncut unfiltered. I want that rye spice finish to just go on forever.
Yeah,
like, you know, if you have it at a bar, it's your last drink. It follows you home.
Yeah, I definitely got that. And going back to the small batch, which is this one right here, I think what you said and what I picked up on in the review when I did it was it really, the younger whiskey and the older whiskey definitely complement themselves because you get the youthfulness and you get the bite and that kind of punch of flavor in the youthful whiskey. Right. And then you have the little bit of older to kind of balance it out and kind of rough out all the edges.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's the exact goal. And then uncut unfiltered, I experiment more with because
Okay.
I'm really not going for a specific flavor profile. It's really all about the finish, and it's going to finish differently if it's summertime or if it's wintertime. So something if I'm blending, and so I really got to start putting batch numbers on those and dates and everything.
Because if each batch, that was what I was going to actually ask you, because if they're going to be a little bit different from batch to batch, it'd be great to have batch numbers on there, because people will start like clamoring, like, "Hey, did you get batch 3? It's it's amazing,
Yeah, and it's a trip because stuff that I blended in the summer, I'll try that in the winter, and it's a completely different experience because there's like no, like, I mean, I shouldn't say if you're sitting outside, right? If you're, even though I really rarely drink uncut, unfiltered when it's hotter than 90 degrees. I don't care what I've done. If the juice in your glass is like 110 degrees, you're gonna smell and taste heat. It's
exactly.
But humidity too has a lot to do with it. And so, like the other day, I was trying something that I did in the summertime, and it was really, I loved it, but it almost didn't finish hot enough. And then talking about finishes, I don't know if you saw the video yesterday. It's like I went through all those 4th floor 8-year barrels, and up front, man, they were just, oh my God, they were beautiful, but they all finished either too young or too tanniny, and it just ruined it,
Yeah, actually, I did watch that video, and I was laughing because every single one you went through, you're just like, oh man. He's like, where's the finish on this one? And I think that's really interesting part of what you guys do, because not only are you transparent on the bottle, but you're actually, like, if you wanted to, you could literally follow you online, blending these barrels together and where it's going and where it's going to end up. So what made you want to really connect through social media in doing what you're doing?
God, I hate to use the word organic, but it's just like I see all these guys and they're just doing bottle shots and everything, and other than not bourbon people, but like distilleries, and I'm like, this is just, I don't know, it's just like the same bullshit that like when it comes to like lying, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, another bottle shot, great. And then just like I would do like a video. I was like, I'm gonna do a video. Fuck it, because a big part of it is from my experience, being out in market, going to accounts, going to meeting with beverage directors at casinos or the buyers for liquor stores, things like that. They'd all say the same thing, like, I'm the story, or what we're doing is the story, because or even at a whiskey event, like I'll be like, yeah, we created small batch because I wanted something that I could have on the rocks in the summertime that didn't get watered down. My business partner, Jonathan, he likes cocktails. He wants something to shine through. And so we really like these flavors, and we created it to taste like this and or uncut, unfiltered. I was like, I see all these cask strength bourbons, and you go to the website and they're like, please enjoy some spring water. I was like, well, what's the fucking point? I can do that with small batch, Small batch has got so much young juice in it. I'll give it to you cask strength. It's terrible. It finishes so young and hot. It's not good at cask strength. And like everyone's like, you're the only one saying this stuff. Everybody's like, oh, I found a recipe in my dead grandfather's shoe, or we're trying to resurrect this recipe that allegedly existed during Prohibition. I'm like, why the fuck would you want to do that?
My grandfather's shoe, that old chestnut.
and so, and then also it was because coming from the bar business, the reason my bars were successful was it was never about me. It was always about like the customers, and I was like always in the shadows. Nobody knew like who I was, when all these other bar guys like had this, everybody knew who they were. And and so this was like, in the beginning, it was just like bottle shots. And I was like, man, this is kind of boring. And I think one day I posted a picture of like the craft spirits rep from our distributor out here. And somebody was like, oh, thank God, a human, And I was like, yeah, maybe I should just start doing videos. I don't know what to do. And in the beginning, they're kind of funny. And then I just started going through the process, and I just noticed, like, having a business Instagram account, that the bottle shots got a lot of likes, but the videos got more engagement. And I don't really give a shit about likes. You know, I mean, I don't even do hashtags. I don't even make people tag anybody for the giveaways. You know, it's like whatever.
Yeah.
It'll grow or it won't grow. I mean, it's not really.
Yeah, I think that's smart on your part, and it's definitely really every time you post a video, I love watching your process, what you go through. That's like that's like what us whiskey geeks kind of, you know, we nerd out on. It's like, oh my, it's like holy shit, he's like actually creating it like on like you don't get to see master distillers or anyone do that, you know.
No, and when you do, they make it look like this fucking arduous process. It's fucking fun, man.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest thing in the world. You come in here, you try all this bourbon, you throw some shit together, and you're like, oh, that tastes delicious, and you get to learn, you know, figure out how all the, you know, it's kind of like cooking where you figure out how all the different vintages and floors are going to interact with each other.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest thing ever, and like everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to sit and sniff this for 5 hours. You know, it's like, man, this is fun. It's amazing. It's like the greatest thing I've ever done.
You're living the dream. Yeah, I'd have, you know, most of us watching and
sorry, there's a train going by. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just gonna say most of us watching and listening would do anything to be blending barrels and tasting them all day. You're living the dream, buddy.
Tasting barrels.
Yeah,
barrels is one of the greatest things in the world.
Yeah, isn't it?
I mean, even dumping them. Like,
yeah,
I had, I don't even care if it's 5-year or 4-year. I will watch every single, like if I'm here and when I'm dumping barrels, I will watch every single one. They all smell different. Even taking the bungs out, you know, some of them, you take the bung out and it just like pops out. Especially these last 5 years, they had so much volume that, you know, because they're coming to me, you know, the valley floor here is 2,500 feet. So they're coming from sea level and going up the Rockies and everything and coming back up to a higher. And so the bung would just like pop out and you get like all this mist and the smell changes, you know. And even so, just dumping them, you get to see everyone smells different. Everyone has a different color. It's just really cool.
That's cool, man. That's really
makes
cool.
It uncut, unfiltered.
All right, so before we get into talking more about the bottles and what's coming up soon for you guys, you up for taking a couple questions?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so guys, start posting your questions. If you have any for Aaron, I'll start putting them up here on the screen. This is from Paul Adair. He sent a super chat. Thank you so much, Paul. He wrote, "Love your product and thank you for answering my questions on Instagram. Do you have any specific favorite whiskey outside of Smoke Wagon?" That's a good question.
Oh, the one that like got me in love with high rye content was the Four Roses single barrel.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and the Four Roses barrel picks. They were like the first ones doing it, at least from my perspective as a bar owner, like outside of, you know, Kentucky and everything.
How do you? Yeah, that was gonna be my question because I love high rye, so I'm a huge fan of Old Grandad 114. What's some of my other favorite high rye bourbon? I mean, Wild Turkey isn't really high rye, but it's kind of considered a high rye.
The nice thing about Wild Turkey is they do not rotate barrels. One of the few brands that don't rotate barrels, and so that's why they're, you know, you try that stuff, you're like, oh, it's so smooth, you know, and because it's very low tannin, and what people normally associate as a harshness as alcohol heat, it's actually all those tannins. And
yeah, it's that nice spice in the back end.
Yeah.
Very tried and true process there. Let me see if there's any other questions here. All right, here we go. How can I find a private barrel?
I never hear that. No one's ever asked me that before. Right now, I don't think there's any out there. I've just been waiting on bottles forever. Ordered bottles, man, a long time ago. It's just everything's taken a long time right now. But we will be releasing probably 50 barrels or more at the end of this month. Well, I'll send out the samples and they'll start bottling them in May, and then I'll probably pull some more.
Yeah.
Right before, you know, probably June. Do a few more. So
here's a question from someone in Georgia.
Yeah, I know in Colorado and Illinois, my distributors there, they don't want to offer the 12 years as a private barrel to one retailer. They want to like let they want to have it be theirs, you know, so that everybody can get some.
Oh,
So that's kind of cool.
That's better for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I pulled 12 years and 2 of them were empty. And then I only have 8 left after that. And,
oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Slade's asking, Smoke Wagon's not in Georgia yet. When might it be here? And in the meantime, what is your suggestion on how to get it? Now, I know you guys have some good online retailers. Any advice on where to go?
Just I'm redoing the Nevada Distilling website because it sucks, and but it gets all the exposure for some reason. I don't remember what I did, but there is a smokewagonbourbon.com website, and that has all of our retailers that ship on it. And as far as Georgia and like other states, it's been crazy. Okay, like when I get into a new state, the volume that we do is 10 times what I would expect, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like it's been nuts. And you know, we don't have like an exit strategy. I'm not trying to get a whole bunch of product out there so that hey, look, we did all these cases, let's sell. You know, so I'm just kind of taking my time. I just want to make sure that when we get into a new market, we can support it and we're not scrambling. We are finally starting the construction on the building next door to us. We just bought the 2 acres. Right now, the spaceman is only 3,900 square feet. And we lease it, and we bought 2 acres. And even before we start building, the tanks are gonna be used in that new space. So we're gonna get those out of here. That's gonna give me tons of room. I've got a new bottling machine coming, a whole new setup. So hopefully that'll speed things up. You know, it's kind of hard to hire new people right now.
Yeah.
There's usually only me and maybe one other person at a time in here. And so it's like very easy to keep our distance. And we kind of know each other, so we know like, hey, what we're doing. Nobody's like going out to parties or anything when they go home. But the next state after Colorado is Texas, and Texas is going to be a monster.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well,
I just want to make sure I can get everybody what they need, and we're just having some growing pains because it's funny, like, you know, somebody from Georgia, like saying when Smoke Wagon going to be here. I mean, that only happened in like the past 5 months. You know, we're very small.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that you don't want to rush something out of detriment to your brand. So you want to make sure you have enough volume and good whiskey that you're proud of what you're putting out to other states. Because if you get a bad batch in one state, that's going to kill it for everyone else.
Yeah, or if everybody's waiting and we can't, you know,
yeah,
it's like, okay, like, I mean, I feel bad that everybody has to wait for uncut unfiltered, but it's been like, you know, when it's all said and done, it'll be 5 weeks. It seems like an eternity for me as well, because that's my favorite thing to do next to barrels is blend up uncut unfiltered. You know, I love it, man.
Yeah, man.
I'd do it all the time if I could. But
how much do MGP barrels cost now compared to the years before it blew up?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How much are MGP barrels costing now compared to a couple years ago before it all blew up?
So compared to 2012,
yeah,
they're like, it's insane because nobody could get oak for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the prices went up in like 2014. They've started to come down again. So now they were around 600. They went up into close to the 900 range. Day one, right? This is me, day one distillate, not buying something that's aged. And now their last lay down we did was like mid 700 a barrel, something like that.
All right, 2 more questions before we move on. One, will you always be committed to sourcing?
You know, unless the state law changes, and even if it does, it's like I don't know how I'd age it out here, you know.
Yeah.
Especially the volume we're doing. You know, that's the thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, you talk about Texas whiskey and how that stuff will come of age after 2 years. You know, Vegas aging, you know, has to be right about there, maybe even quicker.
Well, it's humid in Texas.
Yeah.
You know, we got 5-6% humidity in the summertime here, and you know we've got 2,000 barrels at MGP right now, and I'm getting ready to lay down, hopefully in the next month or two, like another 300, and then 300 more after that, or maybe more depending on how things go. That's a lot of barrels.
Yeah, that's a ton of whiskey, man.
Yeah, to give you an idea, big, huge 50-foot semi is 80, 85, 86 barrels.
Yeah.
Right? And we got we got a couple thousand of them. So it's huge. It's a huge amount of space. And so
last question before we move on. What is the current distribution of Smoke Wagon? And obviously you guys will be expanding in the future, but what states are you guys in right now?
So right now we're in Arizona, obviously Nevada, California. Just got into Colorado. Colorado, man, you guys, whoo, crushing it. It's been 5 days. We've been in Colorado for 5 days, and I've already shipped 4 pallets, and they just ordered 2 more. New York, New Jersey, and Illinois. And Illinois is another like monster.
Yeah. Illinois is a monster, dude. You getting hit up from Binny's out there?
Yeah, we're getting Binny, and then Texas is going to be ridiculous. I talked to Chris Detmore, who he's a buyer for Specs, which is like 180 stores, and he was like, "Hey, so this is going to be my first order. I tried to keep it small." Not to put too much pressure on you. I was like, well, what the fuck? Okay. We need some more room. Well, that's
it's
awesome. But,
that's good to know. Well, that's good to know for the viewers, because if nobody can get them within their own state, if they know someone in any of those states, then tell them to look out.
The thing is, initially, it was slow to get in the States anyhow.
Yeah,
because we didn't have the money to hire brand ambassadors. There's all this whole relationship with your distributor that most people don't understand, right?
Yeah.
And so distributors, they generally want you to have a brand ambassador. They want you to have your own sales team. They want you to have all these things, and a lot of it you need. You got to go do account support and things like that. And so I just been saying no, because I don't want to go anywhere and like fuck it up, and die. And I don't know, you've just been saying no for so long that now when I get into a state, it's like I don't have to do anything like that. And I think a lot of it's because I've really been focused on liquor stores.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people they exist in this old model where you get into a bar and then people try it in a bar and then they go buy it for their house. And I was like, come from the bar business, man.
Yeah, that's right.
That's like your bar, it's what most people don't realize is bar customers, yeah, sure, you're getting everybody, but your core people that are coming out, well, except probably in Chicago. Chicago, I think it's everybody going out 7 days a week. They get off work. They're, and I mean this in a positive, like, I'm impressed way. They're like animals. They go out and they stay out and they sleep for 3 hours and they go to work. I can't do that. But generally your bar customers are like 21 to 25 years old. Yeah, you have them for like 18 to 24 months, and then so you always got to stay current and get ready for that next group of kids. And so maybe if you're making like a flavored rum or something that kids are going to have at a party, a Fireball, something like that, where they try in a bar, like, oh, next party we should have this. But like bourbon people, no. And so I was always, because I've had, you get that super rare bottle just to have it to make your back bar look great, but it's going to sit there for like 3 years, you know? And so I was always like really focused on liquor stores and things like that. And,
no, that's awesome, man. Yeah, if you ever needed a brand ambassador here in Ohio, let me know. I'll be glad to ambassador that for you.
I can't. It's so great. Like, what part of Ohio are you in?
I'm in Columbus.
You're in Columbus?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just crazy that you can't ship there.
Yeah, I know. It sucks. It sucks. I know it's state control. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get in here, but if you ever do, it's a bourbon crazy town here, so everyone buys up shit every day. It's crazy.
Could go to MGP. I stay in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, it was. I mean, you see a lot of rare stuff. And
yeah, you do. But all right. Back to the bottle design. So so this medallion here on the front, and I'll kind of zoom in here so everybody could see. So this kind of signifies you went with an Old West theme, which I thought was really
Correct.
cool. These are 2 single-action cross Colt revolvers.
Yes, the 1873 Colt single-action army revolver was the first.
So it's
first cartridge revolver.
And it's 2 crossed over the state of Nevada. Let me see if I can. You guys can see the outline there. Cross over the state of Nevada, and then on the bottom it says "Bibimus Moriendum Est," which means "Let us drink, for we must die," which is just awesome.
That's 100% that my business partner. That was a toast he did when he was in law school.
Really?
Because I was trying to do the logo and I was trying to come up with Latin, and he said, "I've got the perfect one because this is kind of like how we live our lives." And it was. But you guys basically came up with the entire. This is all your design, correct? Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I designed it originally for the vodka bottle, the desert sage, and everything, and so it was always, even vodka, which kind of may or may not make sense, but it was always supposed to have like a Western theme because that's the aspect of living in Nevada that I associate with. I mean, I do go to the Strip. Now, when I was in the bar business, I never went because I was like living a late night lifestyle. Now I got to wake up early and stuff, so I go have dinner at like 5:30, so I can actually enjoy it over there. But my free time, I'm in the desert. I'm always off-roading. I'm always out in the desert. I just love it.
That's awesome.
And so, so that spirit of Las Vegas and Nevada, where, the Old West history is just crazy, like people, they talk about how Nevada, I can't remember, it's like 95% federally owned or something like that. And people think, oh, because the federal government came and took it. It's like, no, that's because it's so harsh. During the Homestead Act, nobody claimed that land from the government. So that was always sort of the even like when I drive to Arizona, that's the romance I get wrapped up in as far as living here, more so than, the mid-century history of the state. So the Morgan was minted in Carson City, saw the silver coming out of the Comstock load. That was the currency of the Old West. And so when it came time to do the bourbon, I downloaded this Old West slang glossary. We just kind of went through everything when it came to Smoke Wagon. I was like, oh, well, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, and Smoke Wagon was the basically Western slang for the old Colt revolvers, correct?
Yes, because if you were looking down the wrong end of it, the cylinder looked like a smoking wagon wheel.
Yeah, that's friggin' sick. Awesome name. But let's talk about the actual bourbon a little bit.
Sure.
I have 3 of your offerings here.
Okay.
I have the small batch, the uncut, unfiltered, and I was lucky enough to get myself a Desert Jewel.
Desert Jewel?
Yeah. So the small batch, as you said, it's a mix of different years. So is it still a blend of about 4 to 8 year old bourbons that you're looking for?
Yes. And actually, I went off the rails with small batch. I started getting a little too experimental, a little too crazy. That happened after being in here by myself all the time for 2 years. I got a little lazy when I first hired people, and so I would give them the weight ratios to mix it up. And I noticed there was a couple batches that weren't really that good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if they messed it up or what. So I was like, okay, obviously I'm gonna do the physical batch blending. And so I started, like, once these new finishes started coming in, I started getting all crazy with it. And one time I went out and I had it on the rocks, and it was like too watery. I was like, this is not what small batch is supposed to be. I've lost the vision of small. I've made it too gentle. And so I just went back to having it be, 8 year and 5 year, 8 year and 4 year, 9 year,
okay,
kind of like 2.
All right. So then you have the uncut, unfiltered, which is, you said this is between 4 and 12, about, you said?
Who the fuck knows, man?
Who the fuck knows?
It's always
This is your fun time when you get to play around with this, right?
Yeah, because I have 2 tanks of 6-year that I dumped 2 years ago, and I only use those for uncut unfiltered. One is off the 5th floor and one's off the 4th floor. And depending on what's going on with everything else I'm using, I'll throw some of that in to kind of push it in the direction I want it to go. Because there'll be time like that 4th floor 6-year is a little better to push it in the wintertime to get a little hot heat on the finish than say something younger like 4 or 5-year, so.
Yeah. So
right.
so explain the idea of your tank. So basically you have you have these big vats and you're
like 350 gallons.
350 gallons and so how do you decide, which barrels are going to be dumped in there?
I just do it so obviously the younger stuff, there's no whether or not it gets dumped decision, but everything is kept separate by floor and by vintage. And so like this last truckload I got, we had 18 5-year 6 floors. And so I put 9 in one tank and 9 in the other tank. And every time I blend something using those, I pull out of both tanks equally. And same with like the 8-year, the 4th floor 8 years, they're all in one tank. And so nothing's pre-batched. Everything is primarily for uncut unfiltered, because but even small batch, you just never know. And so every time I bring barrels in, when I dump them, I put them in their own tank. Like the 4-year, we get about 7 or 8 to a tank, so it's not that much. The 5-year was like 9 to a tank. 8-year, 8 years about the same. That 4th floor 8-year it was like 9 to a tank. So it's not like these big huge tanks, Now the big huge tanks I will use for like the 6th floor stuff because it's really not gonna get much older than 5 or 6 years,
Okay.
And so at 5 years is pretty good. 6 years, I think it's gonna start losing its youth, and so there's no real advantage to not just pulling it all out in 5 years or whenever it's like kind of crunch time and just dumping it into 5,000 gallon tanks. But everything else I want to keep in smaller numbers.
So when it comes to single barrels, what's your if you could pick a year bourbon that you want to go straight from the barrel, you don't want to blend it with anything, what year is kind of in your wheelhouse that you love?
Man, that's tough. Now, if I had to, the 10 years were extraordinary. The 4th floor warehouse G, all the, I'm like pointing at the screen there, but so everything that year that I did Desert Jewel, everything that went into a private barrel, those were amazing.
Yeah.
These 5th floor 8 years, that is where my palate is at, man. They're like bold. You got tons of sweetness. Everything's like really intense. And then there are some 12 years like that one that just went to off-premise Chicago, 5613. I love that one. Now, I loved it because it tasted much younger than 12 years, It was a low floor, and so it tasted younger than 12 years. But yeah, 8 to 10 years is kind of where I'm at, depending on the floor, I haven't really pulled anything lower than the 3rd floor, so I don't know.
Yeah, so it's interesting. The small batch and the uncut unfiltered to me have a really brilliant mix of spice, cinnamon, but also a ton of vanilla, caramel, the tannins. You get the good balance. But the Desert Jewel, there's a layer of fruit that's on top of all of that.
Right.
From that 10-year. And I think that's what makes it so unique. It's almost, you get like a cherry, or if my buddy ADHD whiskey is watching, he gets like maybe a little bit of a blueberry on top of that. It's really good.
That one, and it's very complex, but it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Now I know a lot of people drink the Desert Jewel neat, but for me, that in the summertime on the rocks, like with a cigar, I get all these flavors that because I'm very tannin sensitive, So sometimes out of the bottle, the tannins are a little overpowering for me.
Yeah.
But oh man, there's like this dry, dark cocoa flavor and all these incredible flavors that come out with just like a little bit of water. And so, but again, it's like, it's all specific to your palate and what you like, you know, because.
Yeah, so I actually have a sample. So my buddy in the chat, How Do You Whiskey, sent me a sample of a pick called Vegas Heist. It's a 12-year, 57.9 Smoke Wagon.
Okay.
I've been waiting to try this stuff, and I figured I'd break it open here. But while you're waiting for me to pour it, I have a quick question from Karen, and this was something I wanted to ask you too, and it's about your straight bourbon. It says,
okay.
I've seen Smoke Wagon 4 and 5-year straight bourbon in a different bottle. Could you ask him about that one? So what is that a newer offering?
Yeah, so that is the only reason it's in that clear bottle is because I really wanted to be in the $30 price range, and there was just no way to get there with the custom glass. It was just too much. And so that's just a single vintage. Now, so it's not 4 and 5 year combined. When I started, it was 4-year off the 6th floor, and now it's like 5-year off a lower floor. But it's always, you know, but yeah, it was just meant to be like a really nice entry-level bourbon, because I just felt like everything was getting weirder and weirder. Like, I would go to these tastings, and someone would be like, try this, and like everybody's kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And look, but no one's saying it's good, you know. And I'm like, well, how much is this? And like, oh, yeah. It's you know, $100 a bottle. I was like, oh, what is it? Like 12-year or something? Like, no, it's like 4-year. But we aged it in this cask, and then this cask, and then this, and then we did this. And I was just like, well, I don't like it. And $100 a bottle for 4 years, ridiculous. And so I just 4 years ago, I was just like, I'm gonna make a 4-year entry level that just tastes really good, and it's going to be affordable, and it might be not complex enough for some people. I mean, I drink it, you know.
Yeah,
I'll drink it. I drink it all the time.
I mean, and I will say this: when I did the review, also at the end, I said that your bottles, I think, are actually high value, because when you look at a lot of other distilleries and what they're doing when they're sourcing from MGP, you see stuff that's younger than what you're putting in the bottle for well over $100.
Yeah.
I used Mic Drop as an example because they had a 4-year release last year.
It was like $99.
It was like $99. Yeah, yeah. So you're blending stuff that's between 4 and 12 years old for the uncut, unfiltered. You have 4 to 8-year-old on the small batch. You have.
Yeah, now the oldest that I'm using for blending is 8, because the 12-year, that was the 4th floor stuff, and it was too tan and heavy for a private barrel.
So this Vegas Heist pick from this was from the Adventures Club Bourbon Society.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, that
was almost a year ago.
This is a phenomenal. This is phenomenal. This is chocolate and butterscotch with red pepper on top.
What's the? Is that a 3rd floor? Is that WG3? Does he tell you?
No, he just said this is 57.9%. He's in the chat. Maybe he could throw it out there. Yeah. So you remember that pick?
Oh yeah. that was when anybody said, "Can I get a barrel?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
So so New Millennium had a question. This was one of mine. So since Desert Jewel is no more, and I know you are going to have some private picks as soon as you get the bottle situation in hand.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything you could talk about that's upcoming that maybe you can talk about a little bit, or if you can't, I understand. But yeah,
no, I can totally talk about it.
All right, cool. What do you got?
It's not like anybody could steal the secrets, right? You know. So, so when I did those 5 barrels of the 8-year, those off the 5th floor, and I tried them in that tank, I was like, "This is insane. I am not using this for blending. I need to come out with like originally I was going to call it experimental, but it's not really experimental because I'm not like using weird wood or doing anything weird. It's just blending and so I decided to So that should be out soon because I'm just going to do it in that stock bottle so I can have a nice big label to write on. And I'll probably just call it Rare and Limited. And what I'm thinking about doing is, I know people like to collect stuff, but I don't want them to collect the bottle with juice in it. I want them to drink it because it's delicious.
Oh,
and so
cheers to that, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, I drink everything. You know, it might take me time, but I don't have any unopened bottles anywhere.
So how do you said it's 5889 Warehouse WG3. That was the pick.
Okay, yeah, third floor. Yeah, those were really good. There still are. That's all I have left.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'll probably have like a little medallion bottlenecker for them, like an enamel coin. And so anything that's like a single vintage will be blue because that's kind of how Desert Jewel was. It was like an older single vintage. Okay. Anything where it's like an experimental version of small batch will be like gold. And anything that's, you know, I'll get them made. And so it tells you what it is in the coin. So you actually have something that you can keep, but you still drink all the bourbon. You don't feel bad.
Yeah, you ever think of like doing like the worm and tequila at the bottom of the barrel is a coin waiting for you? You got to figure out how to get it out.
I've had people. We'll just put it on the outside of the bottle. Make it easy. And then I really do want to do something that's like a vintage blend that's in between small batch and uncut, unfiltered, where it's you know, like a higher proof, kind of like how Desert Jewel was. But finish is really nice, neat. Because sometimes, you know, small batch can finish a little young, and not lately because that 6th floor 4 and 5 year is so much creamier than the lower floor stuff was. So
yeah.
But I really liked where I was going when I was doing all these different vintages for the small batch. It just wasn't small batch. It was something different. So that I'm working on that as well.
Well, that's a lot of good stuff coming out then. Yeah. I can't wait to try some of that. Let me go for a couple last questions, and then I'll let you go.
It's been an hour already.
Isn't it crazy, man?
That's crazy.
I know. But I've been really enjoying this conversation, man. You are fucking awesome. I love the honesty.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I love how transparent you are.
That review you did was insane. That was amazing. The YouTube one.
Oh no, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. I always do a lot of research for my reviews and make sure I get it right. And
got everything right.
Yeah, like you guys were kind of growing so fast, and I saw you on YouTube, and I was able to get my hands. A good friend of mine that's in the chat was able to grab me a couple bottles of this stuff because I had heard about how good it was, and people were raving about it online. Then I caught one of your Instagram feeds and Facebook. And I'm like, I gotta friggin' try this stuff, and it came. Like, I gotta get a review out there. Here's a fun question. Ask what happened with the Bourbon Enthusiast barrel stolen by Crazy Nas.
Okay, so I mean, I did it. It's on my Instagram because I had to talk about it because I was starting to get messages from Bourbon Enthusiast members, not James himself.
Yeah.
They said, "How could you let him get this barrel?" Da, da, da. So what happened was, he picked out the barrel. I shipped it to the distributor. Okay. I guess the distributor didn't have normally what happens is I just send samples to the distributor and so everything's a PO, right? He's like, okay, these guys picked it. So they send him a PO for what barrel they want. He sends me a PO to ship stuff. This time, they picked that out. I shipped it to Bourbon Enthusiast directly. And he said, oh, I want to go through this retailer in California. So I told the distributor, hey, this barrel's ready. It's going to go to Chips. And so I guess Chips put on their website that they were getting it. And then Naz saw that and called the distributor and said, hey, because it had all the info. He's like, do you have barrel number, ABV, blah, 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 blah. And he said, yeah, it's in the warehouse. And he said, well, do you have a PO for that? And he said, no, I don't. And Naz said, well, California law is. And I know Naz put out this whole thing where he said, oh, it was sitting there forever and da-da-da. And like nobody understands what happened. He maliciously did this. He claims it wasn't against me, that he doesn't understand why I got upset. He stole that barrel. He was like pissed off at Bourbon Enthusiast about something. I don't even know what. I don't even know if it was something that existed in reality. But and then so I was like, well, how do we stop this from happening? And there was just no way to stop it from happening. There's nothing I can do as a supplier. Once it's there, I can't recall it unless.
Well, yeah, of course. But yeah, no matter which way you slice it, no matter what angle you look at it, it's exactly what you said. He maliciously came in and just stole that barrel.
And he bragged about it to the distributor. He said, it's like everyone's an idiot. No one understands how to work the system. This is what I do. I've stolen barrels from Eureka because I know that they're a bar and they don't take them all at once. And then when there's backlash, it's like he's a victim and he doesn't understand how any of this could happen. And it's crazy now, man. It just seems like I know he still talks shit about me and stuff like that, but it just seems like a lifetime ago. It's
well, whatever. I think people saw through his bullshit, so I think you're fine, man. All right, so last question before I let you go. What is the smoking barrel behind Aaron with the red coin?
These?
Yeah.
Oh man. What's this? These are loose bottles from barrel picks.
Oh.
Because we only sell them by the case.
Oh, so the private barrel picks have the red coin.
Oh yeah, this was my favorite 8-year of the last offering.
Really?
Yeah. What's this? Oh, this is the summer 1942 barrel, 67.85%, hottest
Holy
MGP
shit.
barrel in the world.
67 that went up to?
Yeah. So that was after having it here for 4 years.
Wow.
And we only got 14 cases out of it, which is not a lot out of a 12-year barrel. And I don't know. Do you know? The story of that was, I get like we were talking about the 350-gallon totes earlier.
Yeah.
And so I had a barrel here, and we got a bunch of totes delivered, and it was behind all those totes. It took me 2 years. We were really slow in the beginning. It took me 2 years to pull all those totes out and fill them with juice. And I was like, oh my God, the lost barrel. This is amazing. I can't wait to release this. It's going to be incredible. And I tried it. And I was like, this is so disgusting. Back then, it went up to about 130 proof. And I was like, this is the worst shit I've ever had in my life. This isn't going to blending. We're going to set this aside so I can show people how keeping bourbon here for too long completely ruins it. And I pulled sample bottles out of it. And when I would go and do tastings or things like that, I would pour it out of these sample bottles. That's a funny story in itself, because I'd be like, hey guys, I have this really amazing bourbon. Does anybody want to try it? People are like, well, try some of that maybe. I don't know. I'd be like, hey, I've got the worst shit you've ever had in your life. It's going to burn your throat out and you'll probably puke and die. You want to try it? Like, everybody's like, oh God, yes, I want to try that. But
oh my God.
I hadn't actually tried it. And we wrote fucked all over it. We wrote fucked over the bung, fucked on the side so that nobody accidentally poured it into something. And 2 years go by and I have a new employee and he's like, and this was at the end of the last barrel pick. And so we had, we did 35, 12 years on that barrel pick and 8 years. So it was there's a lot of barrels on the ground.
I think it's really cool that for you guys, being a younger distillery, you were doing barrel picks pretty early. I mean, you had the inventory to do it, but was that something that you thought of in the beginning? Like, I want to start doing some barrel picks, or was that kind of, as you said, an organic growth to what you were already doing?
Yeah, it was originally a key to get us into casinos, because normally all these big brands are competing to get into casinos and everything's free and you got to do all the it's all changed now because the TTB's really cracked down, because everything everybody was doing was totally illegal. You have to do this and you have to do that. I'm like, that's illegal. You want me to put that in a PowerPoint presentation? I'm not doing that No, and,
Dude, it could be one fucking slide that just says this is illegal.
and now, and it's funny because back then it originally went to the casinos. Now I won't sell casinos a private barrel anymore because they don't. It's too expensive to make a cocktail with, and then it just sits in their warehouse. Like the Aria and the MGM barrels, those were in their warehouse for 3 years until they finally released them to retail. And so the funny thing is that I originally did it to get into on-premise, but now I exclusively do it for liquor stores and off-premise. And honestly, it was Total Wine, Nevada. This guy Matt Lilly, man. If anybody's like really helped us get going was when he worked for Total Wine. He bought like 12 barrels. He bought like 300 cases of the Desert Jewel that Total Wine's still selling today. Is like when he saw that, he was like, okay, I want this. He's moved on and works for Liquor World now, but moved on to a new place, not moved on to the great beyond. He's still around. But,
thank goodness. I was going to say, thank goodness, because he's buying all your shit.
Yeah, and that was the thing too, because like first time I went to Total Wine, he was like, oh, with just small batch, he's like, oh, I like this. I'll take 25 cases, as opposed to liquor stores like, oh, a bar was like, I like this. I'll take 2 bottles. But yeah, so I really started doing. But even then, I mean, maybe we did 18 barrels all year with them. And now it's like, I don't even know. I don't even know how many barrels we're going to do this year. It's crazy.
So, Chris Stormer asked, so what happened to that fuck barrel?
Well, I released a lot of it. I've given some away for giveaways. There may be more giveaways with that because I had a couple cases set aside for here in town, and nothing's really happening here because of the state mandate. Liquor stores were closed for a long time. I think now they can start doing deliveries. But yeah, it was only 14 cases. 6 went to California. That was early. That was like in the fall. And
yeah.
So I think those are all gone. But yeah, there's still some of it floating around. We'll see what happens.
All right. So a couple of quick fun questions before I let you go that I always like to ask.
Sure.
What when you're blending and having fun with the uncut, unfiltered, and just fucking loving life, what are you listening to?
Oh, classic heavy metal.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Favorite when you pour some small batch over the ice and you're hanging out, what movie are you watching?
When I'm drinking small batch on ice, I'm usually neck deep in the pool. Right? Because when it's summertime here, man, it's hot out. Like 2 in the afternoon. Usually in the summer, I'll be like in my home office and I'll look outside. I'm just like, fuck this shit. I'm going out. I'm going to go stand in the pool. And I usually don't listen to music then. I'm just like standing out there, just kind of chilling,
That's awesome, man. And if you can have, if you're making a cocktail, what's your go-to cocktail?
I don't drink cocktails.
Oh, you don't? Okay. That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to explain. I have nothing against them. If people like cocktails, they like cocktails. I want that bourbon flavor. I want that. Like even when I drank vodka, I just drank it on the rocks. I was not savoring that. Those were crazy days.
Yeah. So another channel that you usually watch, it's called Whiskey Crusaders. They have I call it like the poor man's cocktail. It's basically drinking whatever whiskey you have neat or on the rocks, and then you just have a piece of bacon to go through it.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I mean,
it's not a cocktail, but you could call it a cocktail.
Sometimes I have it with coffee.
You pour the bourbon in the coffee?
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah.
Especially if it's afternoon coffee, and I can't decide what I want, I'll mix them up. But yeah, usually nothing like sweet with because cocktails generally tend to be sweet, and that's not the flavor I'm looking for.
All right, so Richie Z in the chat is one of my he's always in the chat watching. He says, "What are your top classical metal bands?"
Oh man, Well, it depends. I mean, it's tough. You know, everything from like before my time, like Uriah Heep to obviously, Black Sabbath. I mean, when I was growing up, Black Sabbath was kind of done. It was Ozzy solo stuff, and Iron Maiden was huge, and like even the Scorpions. I mean, they were late 70s, early 80s. So it's all like the stuff that I was listening to when I was younger.
Yeah. I always listen when you're doing your videos. I always find some fun track in the background that I'm kind of bopping to, which is awesome. So all right. So yeah, it's been about an hour, almost 15 minutes already. Aaron, I want to thank you for coming on.
Oh man, my pleasure.
I'll let you go. Tell everyone where to find you.
Oh, as far as like social media or.
Yeah.
Or me personally. I don't know if I want them all finding me.
Well, actually, I have your social media contact down there. Instagram, you can find them at Smoke Wagon Bourbon. On Facebook.
SmokeWagonBourbon.com. The website that gets more is NevadaDistilling.com, and that will be revamped very soon. And I mean, we have Facebook, but. And
Nevada H&C Distilling Company is where you post your videos on Facebook, but they also go on Instagram as well, right?
Yeah, because I split the bourbon and the vodka on Instagram.
Okay. All right, guys. So definitely check him out. Give this guy a follow. If you could find any Smoke Wagon, if you know anyone in those states that he mentioned, it's just delicious stuff, and it's well worth it, man.
I really appreciate it. And hopefully things will be normalized within the next month or so, and you can come by in a space, and especially in a year when the expansion's done, then we'll actually have tours. We'll have a bar where you can actually buy the product. We'll be doing tours. We'll have a gift shop. It's awesome.
When that happens and everything gets back to normal, I'm definitely flying out to come visit, man.
Right on. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. So everyone in the chat, to Aaron, thanks, guys. Cheers. Thanks for joining in, and enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.
You too. Thank you.